Good morning, everyone. I am Hussein Rajdad. I am an English teacher in at Ibn Hazm Middle School in Aitala, in Morocco. In my reply to your question, you have asked me to talk about the qualities or characteristics of my students in my classroom. I think by and large, I can say that the main characteristics or features of my students are a willingness to listen. They are eager to listen, to learn English as a new language, especially those who are, or what is called, the ninth grade learners, the first level of English, or the level beginning learners of English, of course. They want to listen, they find English as a new language to learn, as a new opportunity to learn. So, and also, it's, status, it's an international language. They know this and they are very well motivated. So, the beginning of each, or especially of the year and of each, session, they listen very, very carefully, and they show eagerness to learn. So they listen very carefully what is going on, and they pay their full attention to what I explain to them, so as to be able to try to assimilate a lot of things, structure, words, and so on and so forth. All those, things related to that language. Another characteristic or feature is their special stage, at which they have an opportunity to practice what they have received, or what they have inductively learned. Is a stage of experiment. They want to experiment many different points they have so far learned, because they want to have what is called to have a go, to test what they have learned. They are prepared to take risks. They try things out and see how it works. Of course, not all successful language learners are extroverts. They are all. I have some students who are very good, but they are not extroverts, and some, but they are always urged to use the language loudly or quietly, whenever, or at their own convenience, and also whenever it is possible for them. Another one, what has attracted my attention always, their eagerness or ability or willingness to ask questions. They try to ask different questions because they follow a number of them. Of course, we have some students. Some students, I cannot say they are mentally retarded, but they have some problems and they cannot keep up with the tempo or the pace of my lessons, or of each session. Okay, I'm going to talk only now about the positive points, or the good features of my students in those classes. They ask a number of they always ask a number of questions frankly, I'm not irritated because I know that a number of teachers they can become irritated by students, by those who are constantly asking difficult questions and sometimes irrelevant questions. I think that it's their own right to ask those questions, but always what we have to do as teachers is to try to start from a point and to reach the point. It means how to start off a lesson and how to round it off. Okay, to round off the lesson. But if they ask some questions, sometimes they are irrelevant, frankly speaking. But I try to answer them, to help them understand that in some, in seconds, in some seconds, and then I make them go back to the lesson instead of to try to make them, of course, keep up with to follow, to follow the main points of the lesson. Another point that I would like now to raise as a good feature characteristic of my students is that they tend or they accept the correction. But as a teacher I have to respect what is called first self-correction, those patterns of or types of correction, self-correction, and then peer correction, and then of course the last one to intervene or is teacher, means that teacher correction, they accept correction, a number of them, of course, I can say the vast majority, they accept it without being ashamed or harmed or feeling that something bad or something abnormal is taking place and so on. So I think they are prepared to be corrected if it helps them. They are keen to get feedback from the teacher, and act upon what they are told. What they are told. But this only works with teachers that are able to offer constructive criticism rather than castigating or them for being wrong. Giving feedback involves praising students for things they do well and offering them the ability to do things better when they were less successful. Of course, as you should know that in general I use the approach I use is called the competency based approach, and also I try to avoid that the error is something that should be eradicated or should be avoided at any cost. So I make them learn from those mistakes they make, and you always encourage them to tell anything you would like whatsoever, because in that way they are able to express themselves. They are able to use those words and chunks of language they have so far learned, and also it is an opportunity to make those things, make them that to make those things to my students very useful. That all what they have learned is always useful. And also, I think another point that I would like to talk about is their willingness to think about how to learn. Yes, I have very, very good learners, which they try to build up their own strategy, learning strategy. They bring or invent their own study skills, when they come to a lesson, they think about the best way to write. Vocabulary in their own, word box. For example, the best way to read a text. Sometimes they try to translate some words from English into their own mother tongue. For example, here Amazigh language or Berber language, and sometimes into Arabic or French. They try to invent the best way to read, to learn, to speak, and so on, so forth. The best method of and also they try to write and rewrite, redrafting a piece of writing so as to try to assimilate and to read over and over again so as to try to memorize all those chunks of language, structures, words, and so on. I think in general my students they have good features. Of course, I have still, or I still face some difficulty with respect, in terms with respect as regards, those who are, I don't know, they are, difficult to. Yes, they are. I think I cannot describe them as mentally retarded, but they have some problems, psychological or social or something like that. Some problems. I always try to encourage them. I try to use different methods for them. They have more extra classes, but so far I have failed to draw them from that abyss, or from that bottomless well of of not keeping up with the pace of the lesson. And also I think they have, but in general I can see that the background, social, psychological, and so on and so forth, I think they are. It requires more study and more understanding, perhaps, so as to help them to love, at least to love, to learn, and to make them, to give them an opportunity to have ambitions, aspirations. But if I feel that they are demotivated because of an intricate web of factors, elements that are, or that require in-depth study so as to understand exactly the nature of what make them, of what makes the nature of what makes them fail to learn. Okay, I think that's it for. I think by and large these are the main features of my students. Normally I should raise a feature and explain it in some detail, but I'm so sorry. I think if you need more further information, more details, I think I can provide you whenever and wherever you want. I am ready. Thank you so much. This video is recorded, or a clip if you like, is recorded for a researcher called I think Madam or Mrs. Saad Zaki. Thank you so much. I wish that what I have so far said is enough to have a full picture, to give you a full or a good picture of my students' features. Thank you so much, and see you soon. And my best wishes to you and to your teachers, your family, and your father. See you inshallah next time. Thank you so much.